Now the fun begins.
Richard.
Stop! You violated the law.
Welcome back to another episode of the Gamecast, your weekly go-to podcast for all things Xbox, Xbox Game Pass, and of course, PC gaming, including news, rumors, and conversations around them damn good video games. You can catch new episodes of the show when they drop each and every Friday morning on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, and all other major podcast services. So, wherever you get a podcast at, make sure to follow us, do all that jazz. Everything I tell you every week, follow us, rate us, review us, all that jazz, wherever you get a podcast at. If we're not on there, on the one that you like, whatever it may be, let me know. We'll get us on there. And while you're at it, follow us on Twitter at GPGC Podcast. Stay up to date with everything regarding the show, video games like, and our dope giveaways, which we do have a couple dope giveaways lined up coming in the second half of the year. So, want to make sure you get on that and get on to the Twitters. Yeah. I don't know. I completely lost it here. As always, I'm your host, Travis White, a.k.a. Travelus on most internet platforms. Joining me, as always, are the thoughts in my head. That's right. It's just me today. Just me checking in. Mike is on vacation. He is out with his family, out doing a little... it looks like camping. Not camping, but like they got like a nice little like kind of mountain getaway cabin place just to chill out for the weekend, more resort style. So they're having a blast while us schlubs, slumming away yet again at work. Must be nice. No, just kidding. No, it looks dope. So Mike is not here this week. It's just me. So it'll be probably a little bit later of an episode, less news heavy, I think. Well, we'll be checking in on some new stuff, but more or less, it's one of those episodes that pop up every now and then whenever our schedules conflict and whatnot, that I want to make sure I get out and talk to you guys and whatnot. That I just want to make sure I check in and kind of more so, I guess they're more personalized with me, that I like to just kind of, go from the hip. And realistically, these episodes for the most part have like no run of show, like a little inside baseball for you. Like I look at a couple articles, yada yada, what I want to talk about, but mostly it's about what I think, and sometimes we talk about, back end stuff of the show and things like that, and kind of, the process behind that, or, I've been taking a lot of classes in, 3D design, and now I'm actually finishing up a course in Unreal Engine right now. Like, maybe I want to talk about those. It's just one of kind of those things that I like to talk about, more personal, but also too just topics that pop up that I feel need to be either touched on again or add a little emphasis to, or just could be from just something that I thought was really interesting kind of thing. But anywho, yeah, it's just me this week, so it'll be. I need to figure out what to call these episodes. I'm still racking my brain around like, what the fuck do I even refer to these as? Is this like, I want to say I'm a Big Mac Miller fan, if I could spit it out. I always thought of like Thoughts from the Balcony, because that's one of my favorite songs of Mac Miller, R.I.P. But I think that's a little too cheesy for just me. I think that's a little deeper for maybe what our talks are, but I'll workshop something. I'll figure it out. I need to get a little more down and dirty into thinking about what actually I want to call these, because I think they deserve to be a little cutaway for either, sure, they're obviously going to be mainline. They are our mainline episode for the week, yada, yada. But just so you know that, and you guys are aware of, hey, this is going to be a little more, I don't want to say topical, because each week's topical, but it's usually more newsworthy, trending, and sometimes I like to just peel back and just talk about, hey, what the fuck have I just been playing, or, what am I revisiting, or, just whatever I am interpreting through various things in the games industry right now. As someone who's now been covering the games industry for, a few years, and who is, wrote about video games and now is getting into the development end of video games, as, obviously a hobby at first, but, somebody who maybe want to, switch my career path one day and do that. So just different things like that I think are important to talk about. But anyways, we'll get into at least what I've been playing, because usually it's, what's good, what's going on, what have you been playing. But since Mike's not here to answer that, obviously, I'll kick it to myself. Hey, thanks, Travis. Hey, no problem, Travis. So my wife and I are just about finished with LA Noire. I got to the point where, like 10 years ago, when Mike, Adam, and I were playing it for the first time, that we all basically quit at, that we never finished at because we turned it off. We loved the game up until this one specific part, and I don't want to go into details on it, obviously, but it was this one specific part that happens, and probably, I want to say at least bare minimum 75% of the way through the game, if not probably 85, 90% of the way through the game. Like, we'll probably finish it tonight, I would think. If I had my choice, I would want to finish it tonight. Not in the way of like, oh no, but I actually want to see what happens, because we were all playing it at Adam's house, like doing a playthrough of it over a couple days or whatnot. And we got to that point, and it was very much I think we were all kind of pissed off at what happened with the plot in the one specific point of the game. But me, I'm much more of a like, oh, you know what? I didn't necessarily like that, but I'm interested to see where it goes still. Or, you know what? I wouldn't have done it that way, but I respect the vision and trying something and this or that, yada yada. And not that my opinion obviously is anything different from anybody else's or anything to write home on or yada yada. You get what I'm trying to say, but Mike very much we're yin and yang in that regard, where he is very much like, no, I don't like it, we're done. Like, I'm done, And Adam and I, obviously, and Adam's kind of right in the middle of it, kind of, he's either gets something really into something really, really, really deeply, or just kind of like, nah, it kind of moves on from it, but gives it its respect, though, but then also, But, so we all just kind of, because I think Mike made the executive decision of like, all right, let's play some Halo or something like that. Like, we were just kind of done at that point. But telling Molly about that, and not that I liked the part in the game, but now I'm much more interested to see how it actually fucking ends this time around. So we got past that part last night. I'm curious to see what kind of comes of this ending, because like I said, I've never seen the end of it before. I've never. I don't know. It hasn't been spoiled to me, yada yada. Like, so I'm curious to see if it is that very much of a wet fart ending. Because I don't believe it would be, and I've always had really strong faith in Rockstar, especially the powers that be at Rockstar, the Hauser brothers and whatnot. Like, them from a writing and design approach to their games, I've always been and obviously too, we're talking about different Rockstar studios or whatnot, but they're still hands-on to it to some degree in everything that Rockstar puts out to a degree. So I still feel very confident that it's not going to be as cut and dry as I think it is. So I'm excited to see the end of that. Hopefully we do figure that out tonight. And we kind of roll credits on that and call it a day. Besides that, kind of looking around at what else I've been playing. Last night, I think I mentioned it last week on the show, or did I? I can't remember. But I started playing Rise of the Tomb Raider last week on PC, that is. Molly and I started playing it last summer, because for some reason I had played Tomb Raider 2013, and I don't have the biggest, like, emotional connection or like lineage with, which I don't know if that's the appropriate word to say, but you get the idea. I don't have this nostalgic connection to Tomb Raider that much, outside of like, I never owned one of them, but I owned like every Tomb Raider, like OG Tomb Raider demo that came out on PC. And like, I remember, what was it, Tomb Raider 2? I'm actually gonna like look this up on the fly right now while we're sitting here talking about this. Tomb Raider 2. Is that the one with the monkeys? Or is that 3? Okay, so Tomb Raider 3, I believe. Yeah, getting slapped. Here we go. Getting slapped to death by a monkey in Tomb Raider 3. Yes, this is it. You try to shoot the monkeys. They get pissed off, and they come and just beat the shit out of you. Yes. So now I remember that vividly. But it was always like the Tomb Raider games. I always like, I guess, Eidos games in general, like OG Eidos games, the Tomb Raider games, Commandos. I believe Commandos was Eidos. I believe that was. Developers Pyro. Who was the publisher? Eidos. Yeah, I was gonna say. Like I remember, I think it was my cousin maybe who gave me one, but it was an Eidos demo disc that had all these different Eidos Interactive games on there. And that was before, obviously, Square Enix bought them. So we're talking Tomb Raider, Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver specifically. I had to look that up today because there was a trailer that I always wanted to play that game. I've never played a Legacy of Kain game, nor did I when I was a kid either. I just saw this fucking trailer that came on the disc and was like, whoa, this game looks fucking intense for, me at whatever it was. I'm just looking shit up on the fly at this point. Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver. When did that come out? That came out in 1999. Okay, so me at 6 years old being like, this game looks fucking badass. I need to play this game. No idea why I thought, yes, this is the game I want. Also, too, it was rated mature. And I had the parents who were like, no, you're not. It's rated mature. You're not playing that. Like, if it wasn't for, like, me being like, come on, let's get real. Like, I probably wouldn't have been able to play T games until I was a teen. Until I was like, no, just fucking, just give me the game. Like, kind of thing. But I always did want to play that. But, yeah. In terms of, and always, what I think is really cool, head designer on that game, Amy Hennig, which shout out to Amy Hennig, one of the brilliant minds in gaming and one of the pioneers in gaming from a female standpoint, I like to think. So, shout out to Amy. But, anyways, getting off topic on that, Eidos Interactive, that had Deus Ex, obviously, Tomb Raider, Legacy of Kain, Commandos. They also had this one game, demo disc. Hold on, I gotta, because I brought this up to Adam at one point. And he was like, "Oh my god, Revenant! That's it." It was like a Diablo clone, and it was so much fucking fun playing that. But yeah, the Eidos demo disc. That's it. Yes, I found the one that I think I had two of them. So I think I had one of these ones with Lara Croft on it. But yeah, this one had Revenant, like I said, that Diablo like clone kind of game. Thief, that was Thief the Dark Project, at least on that one. Legacy Kain, Soul Reaver, like I said. What else? Braveheart, I wanted to play, but I wasn't able to because it was only a trailer of it. Commandos Behind Enemy Lines and Beyond the Call of Duty, I remember playing those. All the Tomb Raiders, Tomb Raider Gold, Tomb Raider 2 Gold, Tomb Raider 2, Tomb Raider 3 are on there. I think that's it, but yes. Oh, and Gangsters Organized Crime, I remember that one. Holy shit. But yeah, I was a big demo disc kid growing up. Fucking, oh my god, incredible. But yeah, so all of that long tangent, it's just me too. Like I said, these are like just my thoughts rambling. All of these, all of that to say that, no, I don't really have the connection to Tomb Raider that a lot of people, I guess, of my generation have, or a little bit older probably, but the millennial generation has with Tomb Raider. Whether it's Lara Croft being the quote-unquote sex icon that people wanted to perceive her as, which that did not age very well at all, because I much prefer the Tomb Raider that we have now, that it just definitely didn't age well, to say the least, but I like the direction we're going with Tomb Raider now. But I never had that connection with it. I played a lot of PC games when I was a kid, but never had that true connection that I was playing a lot of Tomb Raider games. I always thought they were clunky and hard to move, which they are. But whenever Tomb Raider 2013 came out, I remember kind of shaking my head at that right off the bat. I'm like, and I was also in that mindset of like, everything is getting a reboot, which I'm still very one of those people, and I'm on record saying this. I've always been one of those people always roll their eyes or shake their heads at reboots with like anything in media, whether it's movies, games, yada, yada, you name it. More so movies. They reboot. And I think that's just because it's been done so often. I always am the one, though, to think, kind of like what I said towards the top of the show, that I was like, you know what? Might not be for me, but I'm interested to see how they go. But especially to IP and, whether it's IP or it's something big that I know still has weight to it, like Dune. I'm not a Dune guy. I never watched the original movie. I never read the book or the series. Like, I don't have that connection to Dune. But I was really interested because I like Denis Villeneuve. Like, I really was interested to see what he could do with his vision and what that would look like now. I mean, that's anything that we kind of, come out with. But I remember when Tomb Raider 2013 came out, I was like, nah, I don't know how I feel about this, because we're on that roll right now where we're just bringing back a lot of these big third-party 90s games that had a lot of weight back then but didn't translate well. And I think, too, I'm also thinking I'm still in the mindset of Duke Nukem Forever and that coming out and being like, why the fuck did they... One, this game should have came out 10 years ago, but two, this game just shouldn't come out. It doesn't need to come out now. Like, we don't need another Duke Nukem game, like, period. We don't. So it was kind of that mindset of, like, let's just let sleeping dogs rest kind of thing. But then the buzz picked up on it and whatnot, and I still never really got around to playing it until... Really, I think we finished it. Yeah, we finished it for the first time last summer, the original 2013 Tomb Raider, and had a blast with it. Like, and I had played it a few times before that and knew, like, okay, no, this is much different than what I expected. It's obviously taking a lot of inspiration from the success of Uncharted, so it made a lot of sense for me, somebody who loves those style of blockbuster third person over the shoulder, narrative heavy games. I'm all for it. And so, actually finally sitting down and being like, yo, let's play through this. Loved it. Had a great time. And then moved on to Rise, obviously. We started playing it, but got distracted by something else. I think that was right around might have been when Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart came out, and I got obviously sucked into that. So it got pushed to the side. We started playing other things. You know how that goes. But I wanted to come back to it because I forgot I owned it on PC as well. That is total me move to, like, even if I have it on console, I notice it's like $2 on Steam or wherever, I find it online for dirt cheap. I'm like, or I see Wario posted or something like that. I'm like, fuck, I might as well pick it up, because now that I have, a pretty beefy PC, I want to see how this thing fucking roars. I want to let the dog off the leash. You know what I'm talking about, Abby? Yeah, she's sleeping. Anyways, though, so I randomly was like, you know what? I kind of want to play through that. So went through, played it by myself, which I don't know how Molly's going to feel about that one, because it's hard to tell. And if you're a listener who has a significant other that you game with, you probably have that, like, it's just like Netflix or whatever. Like, your partner may say, I don't know how, if you'll like this or whatever, but, you want to give it a try? Yeah, sure. You watch an episode of it, and it's like, I'll keep watching if you want to. And then you kind of let it go, and then that person, like, your partner then is like, well, I was into it, I'm going to keep watching. If they're not, they keep watching, and then you're like, oh, fuck, I would have, if you really wanted to watch that, I would have watched it with you, yada, yada. Like, I don't know if it's going to be one of those situations, but who cares? But, yeah, had a blast with it. Rolled credits with it. It is very much a game from 2015. And I know that's weird to say, but we're still talking about early portions of the generation of that point, still figuring out the PS4 and Xbox One tech. That end of it's very clear. I mean, even too, as somebody who loves The Witcher 3, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt was not what it was today when it first launched. It had a lot of issues. So you could tell that this is still them figuring out. And also, too, as somebody who is coming from being such a diehard Uncharted fan who loves that type of storytelling and loves that, who loves the narrative of Nathan Drake, or however, the world of Nathan Drake, like, coming into that and playing these games, you could clearly tell, obviously, hey, we're taking inspiration from Uncharted. We want to have our own version of that, especially, too. It's very clear why Xbox at that time, or Microsoft, wanted and signed an exclusivity deal with Crystal Dynamics and Eidos and Square to make Rise of the Tomb Raider console exclusive for the Xbox when it first released. So they had their version of Uncharted in a roundabout way. But it's definitely a lot. You could tell, obviously, hey, this is a third-party published game. This is being made across multiple different platforms because it's not. It's 90% of the way there. There were more than a handful of times where I know I'm approaching climbing and things like that in a way that I would when I'm playing Uncharted, where the tech that's built around this game is very fine-tuned for that specifically, that is able to pick up on the motion I'm making with my controller, with my, just control input in general. It's going to be a little more responsive and pick up on directional, the way I'm going a little bit more in terms of the locomotion of the animation to get me there. Where this isn't like Uncharted's being made for one platform, period. Across the board, it's being made with one platform with one piece of technology in mind. Boom, there you go. Where this is being made for multiple pieces that's scalable and across the board and whatnot. That it's the Venn diagram. It's got to fit all over on that one spot and cover as much of that as possible. So there were times where I failed multiple times because I'm trying to jump to one place and it flings me across, or it isn't intuitive enough to understand that I'm trying to do it at, a jump at maybe a, 75 degree angle, not a 90. And it's making me do 90. I'm just missing, like things like that. It's obviously a little clunky around there and a little rough around the edges, but I really dug it. I thought it was really with games like that, I'm looking for just, hey, I want that evolution. I want that. Give me the next logical step for this franchise. And that's what I wanted with, hey, coming off of Tomb Raider 2013, cool. If it's just more of Tomb Raider 2013, that's great. Awesome. But if it can improve on that a little bit, that's even better. That's all I want. Just it doesn't have to be a lot. And I thought they improved it in all the areas that I wanted. The combat flowed much better. It was much more expansive with the tombs that you're trying to find and, the puzzle rooms and things like that. The side quests that were available, I thought were pretty cool. The areas were much more expansive for what you're trying to do and almost more like hub areas, which I thought was cool. It helped break up the linearity of the game a little bit, which I thought was great. But it's one of those games at the end of the day, like, towards the end, I was like, okay, I'm ready to get done. And more so from the end of rough around the edges of I'm having issues with mobility and doing what I clearly know I'm inputting kind of thing. Nothing to do with the actual game itself, what I'm playing, the narrative, whatever. Like, you're not expecting a lot to begin with. And I'm not saying that in a bad way, but you're not expecting a classical novel to come out of this. Like, you're expecting like you're going to sit down and watch, shove your face full of popcorn while you're sitting in a movie theater kind of blockbuster experience, almost like a Michael Bay-esque experience, which I'm sorry, I didn't mean to fucking dump all over Crystal Dynamics by associating them with Michael Bay. Fuck Michael Bay. I can't stand Michael Bay movies. Michael Bay's like, actually, no, my dislike of Michael Bay is much more than Marshy's with Spelunky being, it's fine. Like, no, Michael Bay sucks. But that you get what I mean, where I'm sitting down, my expectations are set at that, and I think that really, really helps that franchise. And I'm actually excited to get into Shadow. I know Shadow was a little more diversive with its reception, because I think it's at like, what's it at Metacritic-wise? IGN did give it a 9 out of 10. But where's the wiki? I can just go down to the Metacritic that's on here. So I'd be probably playing this on PC. May play it on my Series X. But so we're looking at Series X is actually rated the highest. It's an 82 out of 100 on Metacritic. PC's at a 77. So it's across the board, but it looks like it's a very solid 8. Like, this is an 8, maybe 8.5 game on a good day. Where you got like Destructoid 7.5, EGM 8, Games Radar, a 4 out of 5 stars. Game Revolution, 4 out of 5 stars as well. IGN, a 9. PC Gamer, an 84. VideoGamer.com, 7 out of 10. But then you have, like, GameSpot gave it a 6 out of 10. Like, it's just one, I think it's very much a good third-party game, and probably what it sounds like a good next step for this franchise in terms of, or capping off the origin story of Lara Croft. And I think, too, just subliminally, I was, after hearing the news of, hey, we're getting, Crystal Dynamics came out and confirmed, hey, yeah, we're working on the next Tomb Raider. It's in Unreal Engine 5. We're partnering with Epic, yada, yada. Like, that also put that, I think, planted that seed in my head of, like, all right, I think I want to play Tomb Raider again. So, those were two of the bigger things I've been playing. I'm trying to think what else. Obviously, Hunt Showdown. We've been playing that here and there as well. Destiny, I need to get back into because I've been very lackadaisical about getting back into that and kind of kicking that off. And Fortnite as well. Like, I've still been playing Fortnite. Played it with guys over the weekend, which was obviously great. That's kind of becoming our, like, Friday thing to do. Probably won't do it this week because Mike's not around, but maybe Kyle and Adam will want to still. But yeah, kind of been poking and prodding around in that. And like I said, I backed off of my Witcher Wild Hunt playthrough because of the next gen update. I was waiting on that. Or my replay of that, I should say. Yet another replay of Wild Hunt. But actually coming out today, one of the things that did come out, the Witcher 3's next gen upgrade was delayed indefinitely now. But that's for, I think, good reason, that because CDPR is taking over the development in-house of that. Indefinitely, if you ask me, I think for something like that, it's obviously not going to be Q2 now. So I could see this being a nice, summer surprise that comes, maybe like a July, August, maybe before, Q4 starts, really, somewhere between there. I think that could be a nice late Q3 release, which would be cool. So I may jump back into that and start playing that again. But I think I'm going to jump into Shadow next. I think I'm going to go Shadow of the Tomb Raider next. I think that might be my next thing I jump into. But we will see. I'm not sure. It's very much kind of like there's many plates that could be spun right now, and I'm trying to figure out which one I want to give emphasis on. Anywho, though, so kind of looking around, like I said, not the biggest of news weeks in terms of gaming, of what to talk about, but we do have a few things, obviously, we can go over. One of them being some big news that kind of came out, I don't want to say out of nowhere, because I think a lot of people obviously knew it was coming if you're, if you played the other games and whatnot, and just kind of know how much weight the franchise has carried for so long now, especially being its 20th anniversary. But in a surprise fashion, I think more or less the surprise of it being what we saw, we got confirmation. Kingdom Hearts 4 is officially coming in an official manner, and we got fucking footage from it, which is pretty crazy. So, pulling this up, this is Adam Bankhurst over at IGN, kind of giving a nice little rundown of what's coming out with the Kingdom Hearts anniversary stream that they had over the weekend. So, let's dig into it. As always, link in the description for Adam. Kingdom Hearts 4 and Kingdom Hearts Missing Link were officially announced at the series' 20th anniversary event. While no platforms or release date windows for Kingdom Hearts 4 were revealed, we do get a glimpse of Sora in a new world of Quadratum. I hope I said that right. A quick look at gameplay and an ending tease complete with Donald and Goofy. The footage we were given shows an art style that very much resembles the previous games, but it has much more of a realistic look this time around. Square Enix has also confirmed that the game is in, quote, early development, so the wait may be a tough one. Which, shocker. If you're a fan of Kingdom Hearts like I was for a long time, not necessarily super deep, but I always had, I had a lot of really great memories with Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 growing up, and was very much all full in on getting Kingdom Hearts 3 when it launched, and had a great time with it. We were waiting a little longer than we should have, but I digress. Point being. The trailer begins by saying, this is the, quote, Lost Master arc, with a narration saying, quote, if this isn't the ending you desired, if it brings you despair, then leave this world for another. The footage begins in a forest and then transitions to a large city. Sora is also seen waking up in an apartment, and we are then introduced to Stretilza. I need to get like Cam Hawkins or somebody on the show to come who are big Kingdom Hearts fans that can come and break all this down, because I've only played maybe half of the side games and things like that. Like, I never played Kingdom Hearts Union Cross. I believe it's Cross. The mobile game. Well, I have played it, but very, 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 very sparingly. While all seem peaceful for a moment, a threat manifests in the sky that resembles a massive Heartless. In the quick tease of gameplay, we see Sora and his iconic Keyblade flying through the sky, climbing buildings, surfing on the walls, and even using his weapon as a grappling hook of sorts. Donald and Goofy appear at the end without Sora, and they look to be on the search for their friend as Donald asks, quote, "I wonder where he is." Then a mysterious figure off screen startles them by saying, "Hey, just where do you think you're going?" Donald and Goofy scream in shock, and the video cuts to black with the phrase, quote, "Magic in the making." Kingdom Hearts Missing Link is an all-new iOS game, Android game that features 3D action familiar to the mainline entries, and closed beta is planned later this year. So, obviously, like I said, we have no idea when this game is coming. Besides that, it is confirmed to be, I believe, on Unreal 5, or no, I think it's actually on Unreal 4. Actually, if I remember correctly, this might be on Unreal 4, though it looks like it could be very much so on Unreal 5, with some of the technological advancements we've seen with, especially in the lighting department, with Luna and whatnot, that it definitely could be, or it could be transitioned over to there. It was one of those. I'll have to, if I can find it before the end of the show, I'll pull it up and talk about it. But, yeah, so shocking enough that it's weird because I always think of Kingdom Hearts as we're getting, like, Kingdom Hearts is always it almost got to the point of the, like, Half-Life 3, not to that extent, because I believe, obviously, for a longer time, Half-Life had a little more impact, to say the least, on the games industry than Kingdom Hearts maybe have, and that's no shot at Kingdom Hearts, but you get what I'm saying, a little more importance to where gaming got. But it's kind of like almost in that Half-Life 3 where, when are we getting Kingdom Hearts 3? When is it coming? Oh, it's delayed again. It's delayed again. Oh, we're still working on it. Don't worry. It's coming. It's coming. And somebody who really did and has liked the games, and I like 3 very much for what it was. And as somebody who was obviously, like I said, a pretty lapsed fan who only played, Chain of Memories, and I'm trying to think what I played, obviously 1 and 2, and then I played when they came out again. I played 1.5, 2.5, the final mix versions of those games. I think that's it. I don't think I played any of the PSP games or anything like that. But I obviously caught up on it. It's just the fucking, it doesn't matter. The narrative's just fucking off the wall. It's crazy. You are very much just, you throw fucking as much reality out the window as possible, even though now they're going for a more realistic approach. But it is really crazy to think that we're already, and granted, we're talking 2019, when Kingdom Hearts 3 came out right at the beginning. So we're talking about, a 3-year gap right now since we've last heard from about a mainline, Kingdom Hearts entry. We got Melody of Memory, I believe, or Memory of Melody. No, Melody of Memory, I believe is what it's called. The music-centric one that came out that did have some story elements to it from what I've heard, which, hey, that's great. It's just another fucking wrinkle to add to everything. But it is really cool to see that they feel that Square feels confident enough to come out and say, hey, this game isn't coming for a while, but we feel confident enough to at least show you at least a little bit of what you can expect. And definitely, a lot of people have brought this up. Me, as a big Star Wars fan, first thing I saw whenever we got to the forest portion, when they showed the cuts of the forest portion of the game, I was like, is that Endor? That's definitely got to be Endor, right? And then, obviously, when somebody cut, now granted, they've kind of trimmed it out of a lot of stuff, but there is a very much what looks like an ATST Walker leg, a piece of it. You can see its foot pad in one of the photos. So, to me, this is all but confirmation. We are finally getting Star Wars, and I would be shocked if we don't get Marvel as well this time around, now that they're focusing on, because I believe in the ending of the DLC, it put them in, I think it was Sora, Donald, Goofy, and Riku, put them in the real world, or a world that looks like a realistic version of Tokyo, if I remember correctly. Something like that. So to me, that's an obvious like point at, hey, we're going to start to get into more of the live action portions or live action franchises or entities that Disney owns. And I think that'll be more or less its tie, I think, this time around. Because they've really started to kind of push away from Final Fantasy characters as we've kind of gone on with the franchise. So it makes more sense to me to see, oh, okay, we're going to go and kind of focus more on Disney's kind of gallery of, let's start looking at, even two more Pixar things or whatnot that we're going to be going through. But I think we see more live action things, and I think it'll be heavily centered on Star Wars and Marvel. I think that makes the most sense. I think that probably makes it the easiest to kind of work with within that realm, because yeah, it's fantastical, but so is Kingdom Hearts. So is, the melting of Final Fantasy and Disney that it's always been for so long. Like, it makes sense. But mostly that it's cool that we're already hearing about this, where for the longest time it was, hey, Kingdom Hearts 2 came out in, I believe that was 2005, and then we didn't even get true confirmation of, hey, here is something, some kind of physical piece of media we're going to show you until 2013, I want to say. I think that's when that was. Kingdom Hearts 3 reveal trailer. Yeah, I believe 2013. Yes, 2013 that we got the true reveal of it. So to kind of wrap your head around that, like, that they feel that confident to go out there and say, hey, we're ready to at least show you this at this point in development. Bravo. But at the same time, devil's advocate, it could also be, hey, you fucking burned us for how long now? Like, let's be real. Come on now. Like, don't show something unless you're ready to, or, yada, yada. So who knows, obviously, with the state of development teams and with so many going work from home, which is great. And working remotely, which is great. And also too, just with pandemic plans being switched around and whatnot, it'll be interesting to see where that kind of nets out at. But I think it seems like for the first time in a long time, Kingdom Hearts kind of has a direction that it's going, and has at least a through line that is, hey, we're going to focus on this plot line, and we're going to focus and settle in on this a little bit. And I think this, from what it looks like, even though I'm sure it will be very much a, hey, here's, this is very much a continuation of threads that we pulled on previously. This seems like it could be a potential good cut and dry entry place, not to the almost to an extent of like a God of War that we saw, and not to that emphasis of reboot or something like that, but very much if you're new to the franchise, it's okay to jump in here. Like, you could learn about everything that's happened previously through, context clues and things throughout the game and this and that. Where if you want to just jump in and learn about or get in on this game now, you can, and it'll be fine. So, so it's cool to already hear about that. And, hey, hats off to Square that they're that confident for it. Hats off to Kingdom Hearts for 20 years. It's a franchise that, like I said, I've never been super die-hard into, but a franchise that I've always enjoyed playing, especially in the mainline ones, that I always thought was such a cool idea, and I always thought was, and like, that's just me. I've always been interested in, like, okay, those are two completely different things. Let's see what happens with them. And even at a young age, like when I saw Kingdom Hearts on PS2 for the first time, and like when we went to Disney World and at the Disney Quest, and they had the like PS2 station there with it, I was like, I need to fucking play this game. I need to go buy this game. So yeah, I'm excited for that, and I'm excited to see where that goes. Especially too, obviously it'll be on Xbox, as Kingdom Hearts 3 was as well. Now that that's a third-party franchise for the most part now. But I'm also interested to see if this will be a day one PC thing as well, or day one PC release, I should say, as well. So I'm really curious to see how kind of that works out. But looking around at the rest of the industry, I kind of want to wait till Mike came back to talk about this, but at least mention it. Obviously, we got finally confirmation on when exactly Season 2 of Halo Infinite will be coming. We all know how Mike feels about that, and I'm sure he won't be playing it, but at least want to get his thoughts on everything. That we're getting new maps, modes, and events, obviously, out of that. Still no word on, obviously, Forge or Co-op coming. Obviously, those were pushed back a little bit more. And, we're just, I think it's refreshing to hear that 343 is saying, hey, we understand and we, hey, we get and we simply understand that you guys are out of patience and, we want to start trying to change the direction and the course of this game from a content standpoint. And I think that's really, that is admirable to see. I'm much more, I think, a little less abrasive with my disdain and towards where the state of the game is right now, but in 343 in general. But I like to give credit where credit's due. That it's refreshing to hear yet again a developer talk about show transparency and show, hey, we get it, we hear you, and we understand, and hey, we probably agree with you that what, you're right. We shouldn't necessarily have to, or you shouldn't necessarily have to sit here and wonder just out of nowhere when stuff is coming. If we expect you to want to support the game and want to be in our ecosystem and invest in it for years to come, there's got to be a reason from us to make you do that. So, it is very admirable for that. And I'm sure Mike will get into it when we get back, whenever he gets back. But also too, just kind of looking around the industry as well. I thought it was really cool that we're finally at a point now where Elden Ring is having a sub 7-minute speed run, which is ridiculous. I have yet to sit down and watch it. I've only seen Charlie, Moist Critical, Penguin Zero, my boy, talk about it on stream because he just started trying to do his speed runs, which did not go his way, poor guy, last night on his stream. But on a side note, though, I am the elasticity with that game, and with all From games, but very much so this one with its being a true open world version of a From Software game now. It is really, really, really cool to see what people are able to do with the sandbox really that's provided to them, and how they can do that, and how they can get around, and how they're finding out to kind of skip things with needing to limit the specs on your computer to be able to get a solid 60 frames per second, to be able to frame skip and things like that. It's just wild. And hats off to From Software for just being fucking incredible with everything they do with their work. So outside of that, like I said, it's been a very light week for news. There's just not anything that's truly, I think, and maybe this is just me, I think a lot of the industry right now is very much nose down, or head down, nose to the grindstone of kind of getting ready for whatever the new iteration of the E3 time slot will be. Because it is right around that time where, hey, we're finishing up what our showcase looks like. Hey, we're putting finishing touches on how we want to present things. Kind of approach to stuff. Obviously Xbox is going to have a showcase. I'm sure Sony will have a state of play or another one of their deeper dive showcase that, show bigger titles coming out, not necessarily, focusing on some indie projects and things like that are coming out, some larger scale projects. Same with Nintendo, obviously, with the Direct that they're going to do. But it's going to center around, from what it looks like, Jeff Keighley's Summer Games Fest and what that kind of looks like this year, and how that's going to look. But I think a lot of developers are now we're getting into, I don't want to say a dry spell, but it is going to be a little bit lighter, I think, right this second for games coming out and whatnot. Actually, I'm going to look, once again, this is one of those episodes that is very much loosey-goosey, off the cuff kind of thing. I want to look at the 2022 video game release. Where's that? Yeah, the Game Informer one. Let's go April. All right, so I wanted to kind of see, just looking at, MLB The Show. I need to play that too. I need to get back to play it. I have yet to play that. I need to get to playing that. So just kind of looking down the list. Yeah, so getting into May. Evil Dead game. I'm actually looking forward to playing that. What else? Dungeon Defenders. Nothing really in May necessarily. And here's where we're kind of at the point now. Like, once you get to kind of May, June, July, anything really past, I would say even past April, but anything past May is very much up in the air. Because E3, I think, relies so heavily on, hey, here's going to be, for the longest time, the games industry there were so many that believed in the idea and the mindset of, hey, we're not going to show anything until we're ready. Very much like Bethesda very much holds their cards close to the chest like that, outside of what we've seen semi-recently from them. But was very much, hey, we're not going to say a word about it, but then here, boom, E3 rolls around or whatever. Here's our, hey, Fallout 4 is coming out, and it's coming out in 5 months. See you in November, kind of thing. E3 is kind of the home for a lot of that stuff with a lot of third-party publishers and whatnot. Your Ubisofts, your Squares, your EAs and whatnot. So it's going to be very much still kind of wide open a little bit on that, I would think. But even looking at the rest of the year, like, the only ones that we really have sticking for sure, Gotham Knights in October, Starfield, obviously. I almost made this, actually, the one thing I did almost make this episode about was like my Starfield wish list, or like what I'm looking forward to. But I think I want to wait a little bit longer for that. I kind of want to hold my cards on that one a little bit. I want to, you can hit me again, kind of thing. I may hold on to that one a little bit more because I'm curious to kind of see on a couple of different things what they kind of talk about coming out here soon. But anywho, that's really all I have. Like I said, this was very much a peeled back episode. This is very much just shooting the shit kind of thing, just because it's just me. And I do need to figure out a name to call these episodes and just what's going on. Like I said, I don't want to call it Thoughts from a Balcony, but something like that, I don't know, Thoughts from the Headset or something. Something that sounds fucking stupid. Hey, I'm brainstorming here. I'm at least fucking throwing shit against the wall, seeing what sticks. Anywho, though, I think that's going to do it for our episode this week. I'm your host, as always, Travis White, aka Traveless, on most internet platforms, including at Traveless_ on Twitter. That's TRAVLESS_. You can also find me streaming time to time on twitch.tv/Traveless_, same as Twitter. And if you want to play some video games with me, you can do so over on Xbox Live, or really any platform that's out there, at just regular old Traveless. That's TRAVLESS. And this, ladies and gentlemen, has been your newest episode of the Game Pass Gamecast, your weekly go-to podcast for all things Xbox, Xbox Game Pass, and of course, PC gaming, including news, rumors, and conversation around them damn good video games. You can catch new episodes of the show when they drop each and every Friday morning on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, and all other major podcast services. So be sure to subscribe, just rate and review us. All that jazz I tell you every week wherever you get a podcast at. And follow us on Twitter at GPGC Podcast. Stay up to date with everything regarding the show, video games like, and our dope giveaways. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be our episode this week. Thank you everyone so much for coming through, listening to my ramblings for this week. Mike will be back next week. We'll be back to our normal routine, like I say, whenever I do these episodes, but be back to normal next week. But thank you so much for coming through, listening, sharing, being a part of our growing community. Game on, listen to the doctors, Black Lives Matter, and we will see you next week.